This episode is sponsored by Launch. Are you an insurance agent that is tired of quoting business to try and find a better premium to win new deals? Are you looking for a way to differentiate and stand out from your competition? Well, look no further than Launch. Launch is an industry-leading software platform that gives you pre-built assessments that you can walk through with your prospect. Launch automatically calculates your prospect's risk score, and this allows you to show your prospect the areas you can fix to negotiate better premium and coverage with underwriters. Offer more value to your clients, turn missed sales into closed business, and most of all, become a better advisor to your clients. Visit getlaunch.io today to get more information on how you can use Launch to win more BORs starting right now. That's getlaunch.io to learn more.
All right, welcome to the Sales Process Series. We are really excited about this. And what this series is an interview with several different top producers in the insurance industry. These are folks that are absolutely killing it. They're over doubling their new business revenue over industry averages and doing it through a consistent sales process. And so we're having these conversations to pull out those themes that are really working for those individuals and really give them to you so that you can double your new business revenue. So enjoy the episode and look for more episodes in our Sales Process series. All right, James, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited for this one to have you on.
Thanks, man. Love it.
Yeah, we have crossed paths several times here with some Insight Performance Group and Hanley and all the guys. So it's kind of fun to have you on and talk through some sales process.
Man, I'm such a nerd for this stuff. I could do this all day long, but that doesn't make any money. So sadly, we have to talk to insureds once in a while.
Yeah, exactly right. And so talk about that side of it, your background, what you're doing today, who RiskWell is, and then we'll kind of jump into what your sales process there looks like and what you guys are doing uniquely.
Cool. Yeah, James Jenkins, founder, CEO of RiskWell. We are located in McKinney, Texas. It is a suburb on the north side of Dallas in the DFW Metroplex, as we call it around here. For those not familiar, DFW is roughly the size of the state of Connecticut, has about 8 million people in the area. So that is where we've been since the beginning of my insurance journey. My wife and I, Allison, she and I moved up here in 2012 to launch a farmers captive agency. Did that for 6 years and reached the end of that road. I realized I didn't fit in well with people that like to just carry the company line and be good little robots and do as they're told.
Not you. So, you wouldn't go outside of that at all, would you?
I got in trouble several times for being an individual and having creativity and good ideas. And I'll leave it at that. I made a promise to not ever, just directly bash the previous companies I've represented. It was a good experience overall. I learned a lot. I found an industry that I will be in for the rest of my career. So Farmers does training incredibly well. There's a lot of really good people over there that just have a different way of operating in our industry. I wish them well, and I look forward to continuing to dominate them in the marketplace as an independent. So, we got in. I sold that agency and launched what is now RiskWell in March of 2019. For the first 10 months, that agency was known as James Jenkins and Associates Insurance and Risk Management, which is hands down the worst name any agency has ever had.
I've heard of worse.
It's just like, oh man, it's so bad looking back on it. It's definitely one of those things that I would do over again if I could. But we found our way very quickly as a niche player. And forgive me if I'm chasing too many rabbits and questions you haven't asked yet. I'm usually on the other side of the microphone asking the questions, so I tend to be a little bit leading in where I'm going with the answers here. So stop me from getting off script. But we discovered that the real estate investor, specifically the professional real estate investor, the full-timer who's doing it for their primary work, they were underserved as a segment. Because typically, and this kind of plays into the larger strategy for where RiskWell fits overall with our dominate the gap mentality, where the small local agent, the captive, State Farm, Allstate Farmers, whatever, the small local independent doesn't have the expertise necessary to serve the professional real estate investor. They could do the local, the small stuff, the dwelling fires, the the onesie twosie stuff. But the moment you get outside of a long-term rental asset class, the single, 1 to 4 unit residential, you don't get the expertise with your generalist Main Street agent. But those kind of accounts are way too small to be on the radar of any sophisticated operator. The national brokers, the regionals, the super regionals, they couldn't care less about some small real estate account. We realized that was a great opportunity to double down, and we went hard after that vertical. And now we write a couple hundred new properties a month, and have a nice little niche we've carved out. So found some other things along the way, but we started as a niche player serving real estate investors and circled back to the other stuff. We don't really focus on personal lines like a lot of shops do. It is an, oh, by the way, sort of proposition where we come back around to it, but we certainly don't lead with personal lines at all.
Nice.
Awesome.
So are you branching out then into any other niches, or kind of, is that your ideal client profile, let's call it, or what are your thoughts there?
I believe in the importance of having 3 unrelated niches, and that you can cluster up your niches if you want to, and kind of think of them as a super niche, if that's a word, because we really like working with. Yeah, there you go. The rehabbers, the flippers that are doing their own jobs, operating as their own general contractor. It is so easy to cross-sell a GL and excess policy to a real estate investor you're already working with. It's an, oh, by the way, you really should have this, so go ahead and get that too. And they always say yes. 1 out of 25 will say, no, I don't need that. And it's like, all right, cool, sign here. We offered it. You didn't take it. Yep. Next. Those are usually the ones that aren't the best of clients anyway. I'm sure we can talk later on in this conversation with the sales process thing about a initial disqualification process of knowing who your target profile is and finding faster and easier ways of getting rid of the wrong people. I imagine we'll probably get there eventually, but the other 2 niches very intentionally that we focus on is roofers. I love working with roofing contractors. They're just the best because typically they're successful. We don't do the startup roofers. They have to have at least $1 million in revenue for us to take them on. Startup roofers, the chuck in a truck, as they're called in the industry, they're the absolute worst. The fly-by-night roofer without a physical location, that has shingles drop shipped to their job site on the back of an 18-wheeler, those are the absolute worst clients you'll ever have because they don't take your advice. They're incredibly price sensitive, and they will skate on their premium faster than anybody you've ever seen. So we had to put some controls in place of exactly what we'll do in the roofing world. But then the last 2 verticals are just software and technology companies, the SaaS, the telecom manufacturer, the equipment, the distribution, anything in the software and telecom space. If they have a cyber data breach exposure, I'm all about that. I enjoy talking about cyber and data. I think that's an area that a lot of agencies are uncomfortable with, just from a conceptual standpoint. They don't want to sound or feel dumb to their client, their prospect. And so they tend to stay in areas of the risk and insurance world that they feel more comfortable talking about. So my dad was an IT manager growing up. I was born with a computer in my hand. So I don't have any problem speaking the tech or the nerd language. And lastly is healthcare practitioners, namely small privately owned medical and dentist offices. I failed organic chemistry twice in my undergrad. I had every intention of being a surgeon. I wasn't going into risk and insurance. This was something I found along the way. But if I had my way, if you talk to 18-year-old me, I'm going to be a surgeon. And it was going to be either orthopedic or neurology, one or the other. And I failed OChem twice. And so I'm not a surgeon, but I know how to speak doctor fluently. I could walk into a doctor's office and immediately have rapport because I spent hundreds of hours in the operating room as a pre-med in undergrad. So there you go. That's basically our entire operation. You nailed it right there.
That's awesome. Well, you might just be getting out of school if you had gone down the surgeon path. So
yeah, I'm about 6 years out of school. I'm 38 now. If I would have gone down that path, I would just be finishing my fellowship about 2 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Which is nuts to think about.
Yeah. I know.
With $1 million in debt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna work for the next 6 years just so I can get to the black.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. So you've identified the ideal client profile. Now let's get into the sales process. So talk to us just about in general, what does your sales process look like after you get an opportunity in one of those niches?
The biggest thing is the way that they find you. I think, how do you attract more of your target prospect? Like the marketing side of the sales process. You guys are familiar with the RevOps conceptual framework, right?
Yep, from Mick. We just actually filmed an episode with Mick.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, Mick
Yeah.
Hunt. No,
Oh, yeah.
Mick is A+, man. Love that guy. Shout out to Mick and Premier Strategy Box. They're a wonderful partner for our agency. Yeah, the RevOps thing, I'm an evangelist for that, man. SIAA is the alliance that we're in, just the network that we belong to. And they had me as a keynote for their digital conference, and RevOps was the thing. I spent an hour talking about it. That integration of RevOps from a sales and marketing and operations and accounting and finance just being blobbed together, break out the silos, decouple all those functions, and toss them in a bucket together and see what happens. That is central to how we operate. The marketing process just rolls right into the sales process. And I think when you can successfully break apart those silos and have everybody be aware of what the other pieces of the puzzle are doing, like the marketing person's not doing sales, the CSR is not doing operations, the operations person's not dealing with accounting and finance. But when each piece of the puzzle is aware of what the other pieces are doing, the entire experience, it just gets way more interesting and, of course, more efficient and more profitable. So the marketing thing, I think, plays right into the sales process. Sorry, I didn't answer your question directly, but I felt like that was a really necessary caveat.
Yeah.
Yeah, the de-siloing, the decoupling process, I think, is just essential, absolutely essential for 2022 and beyond. When we start to talk about concepts like human optimizing and finding the good balancing point between tech and human interaction, the decoupling, the breaking down the silo walls and having, cross-pollinating conversations inside your own office, I just think that is essential for sustained success. That's how we beat the embedded channel. That's how we stay in front of the private equity-backed big offices. That's how we stay in front of the direct writers, is a better overall experience, something that is more cohesive, that is more engaging on a human level, that leverages the power of technology where necessary, but where technology doesn't replace a human, we're a lot more focused on the human element. So the sales process really begins with marketing, and it begins with brand awareness in the marketplace, the vision, mission, the values of the company, and all of that is just immersed in the sales process. So if we do our job right, by the time somebody talks to anybody on my team, they've already seen something on our YouTube channel or social media, or been referred to our website, and they've seen a blog post, or in some way they've consumed some kind of content that's just warmed them up a little bit. It's like turning on the burner. If you throw a brick of ramen in cold water, it's not going to taste very good. But if you get the water nice and warm, throw a little salt in there, the ramen's going to taste pretty good. So I think that idea of like warming up the lead before, we follow a pretty similar track. Well, I'd imagine you probably do. Most of your listeners probably do as well, with just the titles in the sales pipeline of lead, then suspect, then prospect, then client. And then we added the two on at the end of the sales process, a validated client and then an advocate.
Nice. I like that.
After client, validated client, and then advocate. You want me to get into that now or later?
We'll continue down the path.
We'll circle back. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So the marketing thing, like warm up the lead, like make opportunities for them to self-select into your pipeline. The warmer that you can get that lead before they ever engage with you, the easier it is for them to self-select. Hey, I like these folks. Or, hey, you know what? I just want a quote. I don't really care about that other crap. Can I get a quote? I don't enough, whatever. I don't care. I just want a quote. Like, okay, cool. Well, we're not the shop for you. Geico be happy to help you. Next Insurance, 3 from Berkshire Hathaway. I'm sure they're happy to just give you a quote and send you on your way. That's not really how we operate. So, it's that self-selection thing is just so powerful, because, and I'm going to steal from Josh Braun here, the sales trainer. We can't create motivation. We just have to align with it. When you try to convince someone of something, you're immediately going to inspire defenses. When you try to come in and show someone they're wrong or influence them to change their position, to change their mind, they're immediately going to resist you. It's just human nature. I don't want you to convince me of anything. I'm a firm believer. Nobody likes being convinced of anything, ever. People like to have ideas. People like to have conversations and come to conclusions on their own, and decide, hey, you know what? You've provided additional information. I have updated my opinion on that subject. It's like a new version has come out. My new version of that opinion has evolved since the last one. But when we come in swinging our info dump and just dump a bucket of crap on somebody's desk, they immediately, come back just defensive or apathetic, or I don't have time for this, or they just, the worst possible option, they just straight up ghost you and you never hear from them again.
Yep.
So I think when we come into it from the perspective of, let's figure out what this person's motivation is. Let's, present a couple of good leading questions. Let's see, what are you trying to accomplish? What's your goal for this interaction? Because nobody ever talks to an insurance person because they feel like it. No one wakes up in the morning and says, hey, you know what? I'm kind of bored today. I think I'll call an insurance person and get a quote just because.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. There's always some motivation. And I love figuring out, like, the question I will always ask is, what do you hope to accomplish here? What's a win look like for you?
Yep.
Because people aren't expecting that.
100%. So I like how you gave this perspective, because we haven't had anybody that starts with the marketing first, right? Which I completely agree with you. If you think about it, sales is actually a function of marketing, where if you have done the appropriate lead gen, brand awareness, you have warmed up that lead enough, eventually sales is just the next natural step to that process. So we start there, then, you've got this lead to self-select into your process. Then the leading questions, is that the first kind of step to the sales process, your discovery, your, and then take us to the next step, and then being a client. How do you get them to that client stage?
We go through the basic fact finding. That's the boring stuff. And we always call it out. It's almost like a comedian, like we're calling out the joke ahead of time, making fun of ourselves in discovery. When we'll do the discovery part, then we'll do fact finding, which is just data gathering. I think of discovery as its own thing. Most people think discovery as fact finding. I don't think they're the same thing. I think that the discovery happens on the front end of the call. That's your initial disqualification process, where you're trying to figure out, do I want to work with this person? Do they want to work with me? And then when we go into the fact finding, I'll usually call it out, be like, hey, you know what? It sounds like this is probably a good fit. I think we're likely to be good for each other. Do you mind if I ask some basic fact finding questions? I've got to fill in these forms here. You cool if we transition to that part of the conversation? Asking permission, I feel like, is such a polite and human thing to do. It's like, hey, I'm about to ask you some potentially invasive questions. I'm going to ask you about your business. I'm going to ask you about your personal life. Hey, you married, kids? What's going on? What do you do? All these things. Do I have your permission to progress to this part of the conversation? It's just a polite thing to do. It's the human thing to do. So I think having a really firm discovery, like the discovery thing for us, is very structured. It's totally scripted. Everybody on our team, and we're very similar to how you guys most likely are with your inbound. From looking at your website and stuff, it's very well put together. I would imagine you guys have a strong inbound operation too. But our discovery script is 4 questions, and we already covered 2 of them. Hey, what has you shopping? And I love the joke is, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, hey, you know what? I think I'll go shop for insurance today. That sounds fun. It always gets a laugh out of the prospect or the lead. It's always an icebreaker of sorts. It lets them know, hey, I'm human. I realize this is not the most interesting process you've ever been in. But then from there, it's, what does a win look like? What are you trying to accomplish with this? The third question is, hey, where are you at in the process? Are we the first office you've spoken to? And then there's sub questions from that. If we are the first office they've spoken to, great. Can I ask why we're the first office? What did we do in the marketplace or with somebody that you know that we a mutual connection of sorts? Why did you pick us first? Love to know that, because that's our marketing source that goes in the CRM that ends up going in the agency management system as marketing source. And if we're not the first, if they say, no, we've talked to so-and-so and we have a couple of quotes out on the commercial side, we immediately pause. Okay, we're not the first office, so we know automatically we're blocked at a bunch of places out there. We don't know where we're blocked, but we're blocked at a bunch of places. And I just assume, just as a caveat, I assume my competitor, my counterpart, knows what they're doing. I think far too often, like, underestimating your competition happens because all of us have ego. All of us are a little bit prideful. I would imagine if you're in sales, you're probably a very competitive person. You like to win. Underestimating your opponent is a foolish thing to do, I think. So if they tell us we're not the first office they've spoken to, I'm working under the assumption that, okay, this immediately became a BOR play because I'm probably blocked in my target markets. So it changes the entire scope of the conversation. And at that point, they're going to say, no, you're not the first. We talked to so-and-so and so-and-so. And I'm going to immediately say, what's missing? What are you still looking for? And they're going to say, what do you mean? And I'm going to say, you wouldn't be talking to me if they did their job perfectly. You're not calling me because you like to hang out and talk to insurance people. So what's missing?
Well, I want to see what you have to offer, James.
Well, I'm just trying to get some market research. I'm just shopping around trying to get a good price. I was like, okay, red flag.
Yep.
Huge red flag. Because then we get to transition to what Jeb Blunt calls non-complementary behavior in his book, Sales EQ. And it's doing something that throws the prospect off. They're not expecting you to do it in the sales process. When you engage in non-complementary behavior, you're breaking the heuristic in the prospect's brain, because everybody's brain is so programmed. Your brain is a ruthlessly efficient machine. And when it senses same old, it just tunes you out immediately.
Yep.
When you throw in non-complementary behavior, you're breaking the heuristic. And the prospect's brain re-engages. As you brought them back to the conversation of sorts. Because then they're going to say, what do you mean? And you're going to say, here's the thing. I know those folks. They do a good job. They're good competitors. They are worthy competitors in the marketplace. We run into them all the time. What is this doing? It's demonstrating credibility. It's demonstrating mastery. It's demonstrating understanding of the marketplace. And it's demonstrating professionalism, because you're not bashing your competition. You're speaking well of them. Well, again, not expected behavior. So then when you tell the prospect, I'm concerned immediately as I'm talking to you because I'm not selling a product. I'm a professional advisor. I'm interviewing you in the same way that you're interviewing me. And if we invite you to be a client and you like what we offer, it's a good mutual fit. But please don't for 1 second think that I'm sitting here begging you to do business with me. That is not what is happening. We need to determine if it's a good mutual fit to proceed to the process. So let me just circle back to that. What did so-and-so not do that you're looking for? And I'll tell them, I always call it out. If it's just a price thing, let me help you understand real quick how the insurance marketplace works for commercial insurance. And then we go into the whole market selection BOR thing very briefly, if they want to. I'm asking for permission every step of the way here. And basically just say, hey, if it's just a price thing and you're just looking for the lowest possible price, here's what you should do. Da-da-da-da-da. And we're not the shop for that. And let me tell you, so-and-so that you talked to before us, they don't want you either if you're going to shop for price and price only, because we're all about value. And here's what I mean by value. May I explain what value means? And if they give permission, then you keep on going. Hey, it's the best mix of the quality of the advice, the efficacy of the solutions that get put together, and what you perceive as getting the best bang for your insurance dollar. Are you getting the right risk solutions, the right value-add services to go along with the right insurance solutions to get you the best overall protection? That's what we do. If all you're looking for is the low price, buy. Shoot.
See ya.
Get out of my pipeline.
Yeah. And the quicker
that's
you
discovery.
mentioned, Yeah, sorry. The quicker you can do that, you mentioned the disqualification phase, the quicker you can disqualify the client, and that sounds bad, but we want to get to that point as fast as possible if they're not going to be a good client.
And I'll push back on that just a little bit, Elliot. I don't think it's bad. I think really it's good. It's good for the client. It's good for the marketplace, and it's certainly good for your office and mine, because the faster that we help that client, that insured, I should say, self-select the best fit for them, for their preferences, for their priorities, their wants and needs, everybody wins. So the whole disqualification thing, it just means you're not a good fit for us, and we might not be a good fit for you. And in the end, everybody wins.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can educate enough. If there's enough of us out educating the right way, those clients will come around eventually. They'll swing back around and say, I get it now.
Yes, they will. And asking that question, hey, are you open to reconsidering how you approach this thing? And just ask him point blank, hey, are you just going to shop for the lowest price, or are you open to considering a better way? I've asked that question a bunch of times. And what they tell you, it just tells you what kind of prospect they are. It tells you who they are as a person. It tells you what they value. If they value good risk management, if they value, good loss controls, if they understand how good loss behavior drives the insurance program down in cost and decreases the total cost of risk on a larger time scale. If you can help them get around to that sort of thing, they become a great client. And unfortunately, the 80-20 rules in full effect here, of course. 80% of them are like, so can I get a quote or not?
Yeah. Or you get to the end and they told you all the right stuff, and then they're like, so when can I get that quote? And you're just like, oh my Lord.
Yeah, shoot me.
Yeah.
All right. So walking down into the rest of your process, James, from a sales perspective, is that it, or is there more than that rounds that conversation out to close?
Yeah, and the close is the commitment up front before we even quote. It is what does a win look like? What do you need to see from us to do business with us? I need to understand before we ever go to market, what's a win look like for you? Because when we deliver the win, I expect your business.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite lines, I don't need any practice quoting. You're not doing me any favors letting me take a shot. Bullshit. I don't want to take a shot. I'm not interested in quoting. We're working together. You're going to tell me what a win looks like, and I'm going to go get you a win, and then you're going to sign here. Other than that, I have no interest in talking to you. So we use the age-old, car salesman line. If I can, will you? Because once we nail down what they consider a win, it's, hey, here's the deal. I'm asking for your business right now. I need you, in order for us to proceed, you are hiring RiskWell. Once you hire us as your representative, we go to the whole marketplace and get whatever we need to get to meet the goals and the needs that you've shared with us. But that's after you make the decision to do business with my company. Because the insurance marketplace is what it is. We represent all the companies we need to represent for a vertical such as yours, which is why we stick to those niches, because I know exactly what the marketplace looks like if I'm in my niche. If I step outside of my niche, who the heck knows, man? There might be a market I don't have access to that's the best market. Like if I were going to write residential electrical contractors, for instance, EMC is one of the best markets in the entire country, bar none. If you're going to write electrical contractors, you dang well better have EMC in your arsenal, or you don't have the full picture, which is why I don't write electrical contractors. Because if you're a $2 million revenue electrical contractor, I don't need to know anything else about your business. EMC is going to be a great fit for your company, just knowing that you're an residential electrical contractor, $2 million in revenue. Literally 2 points of data. I know EMC is going to be a great market for you. And I'm not interested in talking to you because I don't have EMC. So knowing the marketplace is absolutely essential. And I know we haven't talked about it yet, but being a student of the game, being a student of your craft. I got a bunch of letters after my name. The only reason I got a bunch of letters after my name is because I'm a student of the game. people bash designations. I find it interesting that people that don't have designations are more likely to bash them and say that they're worthless. It's like, I have them. I got the CPCU, got the CIC, got the CRM. They're great. They're really wonderful for educational purposes. They make me a lot more dangerous in the marketplace. Most clients couldn't care less. Don't get them if you think it's an ego stroke. But what you are getting is an understanding of the game and how it's played. So I said a lot there. I'm sorry if you're following on podcast land. I hope you don't have me turned up to 1.25 or 1.5 because you're going to have to back it up.
No, that makes so much sense. I just have no idea how you continue to win business without looking for gaps in the policies. So
I don't even care. But I don't even care where the gaps are. I don't even care where the policies are. If we're staying in our lane and we're asking for the BOR at the point of sale, and it is what it is. If they say no, then I say, okay, where do we need to be to get to a yes? How do we get to a yes? And if they say, well, I need to see a quote first, I'm saying, I don't think you have understood anything I've said in the last 15 minutes. Yeah. We are not going to market until we have an engagement letter. Because especially if I'm not first. If I'm not first, I'm not playing. If I'm not first, I'm either if I am first, I will play without a BOR because I know that I'm first, and unless they lied to me. And if they lied to me, I'm done with them anyway. Yeah. If I'm first, cool. I'll play without a BOR because you came to me first, and that means that I'm probably not blocked anywhere yet. But if I'm not first, I'm not even going to play without a BOR. You're either firing the other office and your incumbent, you're hiring us, and we're going to go to market for you, or I'm not going to play.
Yep.
And that's not arrogance. That's just me being pragmatic because I only like to play games I have a good chance of winning.
You got to stick to your guns. So a couple questions. Before I jump back into the sales process, I want to go back and hit on something real quick or ask you, like when you were discussing, warming up a lead, and you used an analogy of ramen, right? And then get them to the point where they're ready to have a human sales-based conversation.
Yep.
Where do you think that line is? How would you describe that line where you've warmed them up enough, they know enough about your brand? Like, have you gotten any feedback from a prospect that's like, oh, well, let's define this point where then you have a great shot at picking up on a human-based conversation and moving it forward?
You can go to my YouTube and see the videos that I've put out and see the view counts and whatnot. Almost 100% of those views are people that found us through Google search or through a link on our website. I think the complexity of the account, it goes, the amount of touches you need to win someone over increases in a linear fashion with the complexity of the account. If it's $100,000 revenue account, the person watching that video is probably the CFO or somebody in the operations part of the company. If it is a $3,000 revenue account, you're probably talking to the founder. It just depends on the sophistication of the decision maker, depends on the complexity of the account. The more complex the account, the more you're going to have to bring upfront value to get past the filters. And the beautiful thing about the internet is it's a double-edged sword. You can find any piece of information you want in 5 minutes or less on the internet. And there's so many people that have just regurgitated so much recycled trash out there that they'll take someone else's thoughts and just copy and paste them and stick them on their own website as their blog, which they stole it from some content aggregator or AI farm that just spits out, keyword dense garbage, and they put zero effort into it. For one, Google penalizes the heck out of that behavior. You need to have something original. And two, it needs to be relevant for the target prospect. Like if I'm trying to reach, for me, again, a roofer, I know exactly what the roofer wants. I understand their industry. I joined their trade association. I speak at their conference. Like, I know what they think inside and out. I know the things that piss them off. I know the things that make them anxious. I understand the cyclical nature of their business. So when I sit down to record content for a roofer, I speak their language. So having the common language with the prospect, I think, is a really essential thing when you talk about warming them up. We've all heard the phrase, act like you belong, act like you've been there before. If you're using vernacular and terminology and acronyms from their industry, you're talking like they do. You immediately have rapport without even saying, hey guys, I just want you to know I'm an expert at this.
Oh, yeah.
We've done this hundreds of times. You can trust our experience. It's like, you don't have to say silly stuff like that. In my experience, the people that call themselves an expert are windbags. Like, I will never say, hi, I'm James. I'm a risk and insurance expert. It's like, okay, guy, whatever. And you'll see that from me. Like, if you go back to old videos or blogs from years ago, I used to call myself that. But 2022, James realizes that's just silly.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I want to make sure we get the results of this, everything that we've talked about, James. Of, you have a pretty well defined, it sounds, sales process, even from marketing through further than being a client, validated client, and advocate.
Yep.
What level of success would you attribute to that, to having that defined process, to how you identify leads, prospects, to bringing them onto a client, and then further, what level of your success do you attribute to that?
It's the foundation of it, really. The team around me, we have 9 people, including myself, and then 2 VAs, VEs, to use your language. So the team, first and foremost, has to do it the right way, because the only way to scale is to find good people and recruit them to the mission, and then equip them to be amazing in the system that you built, and then just get out of their way and let them be awesome. That's the only way to scale. So a lot of what we've built is, I have a good process. I think I've done a good job of painting the picture. I've done a good job of recruiting, engaged, intelligent, driven people that want to do it my way, because we talk about it in the hiring process. This is the way. This is how we do it. If you're going to be here, this is how you're going to do it. If you don't like how this sounds, don't be here.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Bingo.
That's great. You don't like how it sounds, and that's not for you. Cool. Go in peace. The Lord be with you. Good luck wherever you land. It ain't going to be here. But the process by itself is nothing without the people, because if the people don't follow the process, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
But to what do I attribute the success to? Process plus people. Yeah. We're getting some production now. So
that's awesome. Well, no, it's definitely clear that you've put a lot of thought into it, and that you've tweaked, implemented, I'm sure, over time. Nobody gets it right from day one. And I think that's one thing that we preach a lot, is you don't have to have it all figured out. Go and do and test and try, and then iterate, and
Yep.
change and figure out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But figure out what works for you and what is a defined process, because that's where you're going to be able to pivot. That's where you're going to be able to create consistency in what you do, and ultimately scale, and ultimately drive the results you want, right?
Yep.
So just to kind of wrap up the episode as a whole, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you, what you're doing? I know you have a podcast, you have a lot of content out there.
Yep.
Where can they find more of James Jenkins if they want to learn more about you?
The easiest thing is probably the podcast. It's on all the major platforms. The name of it is just Agency Freedom. We have a website, agencyfreedom.com. I'm in the final stages of finishing a manuscript for a book that should be released sometime in Q1. The title of that book I can't share just yet because the copyright isn't done. But if you check out agencyfreedom.com, I will put it out there the moment that my people say, okay, cool, you can tell everybody what the title is. But that's
awesome.
I'm
I've
very
seen your
easy to
work
find
on
on LinkedIn.
Yep.
I like LinkedIn. It's one of my preferred platforms. Feel free to hit me up on there. If you're going to connection request me, have something in the message other than just a generic request, because I decline 85% of the requests I get because they're obviously spam or bots or somebody from India trying to sell me VE services or website design or something. You know how
I
it goes.
just sent you a request, James, with nothing in the message. So make sure that you just hit accept.
Decline.
I don't know this person. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No, and I just accepted. You're good. Hey, real quick, because the people that are detail oriented are going to be annoyed if I don't share what validated client and advocate are.
Yeah.
A validated client simply is a client that we have had a full conversation on. We either control all of their business for everything they need, or they've given us a shot at controlling all of their business, whatever that may be, personal, commercial, life, health, whatever. And then an advocate is someone who has passed their first renewal. We don't ask for referrals from any client. We don't ask for review. We don't ask for referrals until they pass their first renewal. In their second year, we'll ask for a referral. We'll ask for a review. We're not going to ask for anything up front on the commercial side. On the personal lines, on the real estate side, we'll ask for a Google review because those kind of buyers care about Google reviews. In my opinion, the commercial account, the Google review means a lot less. Yeah. It's not nearly as important as it is for personal lines and for a ground floor real estate account. But that advocate is simply, we have three checkboxes for that advocate. They're a validated client, and they've sent us at least one referral, and they've left us a review or testimonial. And those three checkboxes mean that they're an advocate. And I don't have enough data yet because we just installed this earlier this year with that kind of specific segmentation with the names that we use. So I don't have hard data that says, hey, our average tenure of someone that reaches advocate status is X. I don't know yet. Ask me in 2 years and I'll definitely have the data to back up. But the goal is to get them to that advocate status or get them out of our pipeline. And if they're not going to become an advocate, I don't want them for a client.
Absolutely agree.
So
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you went back to that because that would have gotten some questions from you.
No, somebody would have messaged me and be like, what is a validated client and an advocate? You skipped it. I was like,
yeah, we didn't go back to it. Yeah.
Let me save Elliot some emails.
I love it. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate it. It always goes faster than we want. So, there may be future episodes and conversations down the road. But
hey, dude, the Insight family, we go hard. Inside Performance Group through and through, right?
Larry Linney, we'll take a commission on any new members you get out of the podcast, Larry. Just send it our way. No big deal.
All right.
120% revenue up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, have a good rest of the week.
Thanks for the invite, guys. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Thanks, James. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Past the Premium. We are excited to continue breaking down barriers and finding solutions together. If you would like to reach out regarding anything you heard in today's episode, find links and contact info in the description. Until next time, have a great day, and let's continue getting past the premium.